What's going on, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome back for another part 2 here of our NC State men's basketball preview here. Obviously, we're, again, just as a reminder, we're less than a month away from prime time with the pack. Getting it rolling here. Got a huge women's basketball season coming up here. I think that we're all stoked for. But definitely, too, I think men's basketball, I think that it's really going to turn some heads. But again, if you haven't already checked out part 1, make sure to do that first of all. And then obviously, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you're notified whenever we release any new NC State content. Give this video a like if you're a big NC State fan like us. And also give us a follow at Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter or Instagram. But kind of leaving off, so talked a lot about Jack Clark and Jarkel Joyner and DJ Burns and those guys. But one last guy I wanted to kind of talk about here was LJ Thomas, who's a freshman guard, was rated a 4-star prospect by ESPN, ranked the number 138 overall prospect in the country, averaged 18.5 points, 4.2 assists, and 3.5 rebounds per game last year. So, again, definitely a very interesting prospect, to say the least. So I'm curious, Macon, do you see LJ Thomas having a role with his team this year? Or do you see him as kind of being like a we'll see kind of deal? Like, we'll see how he does.
A role, yes, I do think you'll see a role. I think you'll just see him come in at times to relieve Jarkel. I think you could even see at times potentially seeing Casey relieve him, but I don't really think that's going to happen much. I do think you'll see LJ play a role. He might play 5, 10, 15 minutes, if that. I could see him playing on the court at times along with Jarkel. I just think you've got a lot of weapons there besides LJ. And I think it's a good spot for LJ to be in this year. It's his first year. He's a true freshman, just to kind of understand the game of the ACC basketball and learn behind Jarkel for a year, then be able to compete for that spot next year. So do I expect him to be like a 10-point scorer? No. Do I think he could be an averaging, 4, 6 points, maybe 8 points, 7 points a game? Yeah, I think you could do that. I think you could see him getting like an assist and a half a game. But that's about it, I think, for LJ.
Gotcha. Yeah, so obviously with LJ, I think that, again, it goes to show that I think that with Keats is that, he doesn't necessarily get the creme de la creme, but he gets solid guys that can be beneficial. Especially even, talking about a guy like Breon Pass, for example. I think that he's a guy which, is definitely going to have a role. And, he's going to be competing with LJ even to an extent. But, again, it's a multi-dimensional thing. I think it really just comes down to, especially this year, is I really want to see what we can do defensively. I know we kind of mentioned it. Can we be a little bit more, creative on both sides of the court this year? So, it'll just be interesting to see kind of, who kind of stands out more as a defensive minded kind of player, and then who stands out more really on the offensive side. But so Greg, let me ask you this, because, we're kind of talking about expectations this year. So I'm just going to kind of put it all out there. But what is your bar? Like, what is like, if they do better than this, I'm thrilled. If they do less than this, I'm not happy.
Yeah, I think for me, probably middle of the pack ACC, seventh place, maybe 8th place. I think that's a spot where you're competing for a tournament bid. Mm-hmm. I'd like to maybe win a game or two in the ACC tournament. Obviously, if you win a game or two and you're kind of bubble-ish, that solidifies a spot in the tournament. So I think that would be my bar. I think it's a year where, Keats has only made the tournament once. You could have made the argument he would have made it the COVID year. But again, that year we were kind of on the bubble, so there was no guarantees on that season. Yeah. So really, he's only been in this tournament solidly one time. So I think it's time for us to make a little noise in those regards in the postseason.
Absolutely. Michael, what you got for your bar?
Yeah, similar to Greg, I just think you have to make the NCAA tournament. I think we will.
Yeah.
But yeah,
you think we will?
That's pretty much. I think we will, but that's pretty
much. I think
that's kind of a hot take. Yeah. That's good.
It is a little hot.
To make the NCAA tournament?
Have we before under Keats?
Yeah,
a little bit.
Well, but
yes.
But I'm saying honestly that because we should have much bigger goals than making the NCAA tournament. So that's why to me,
you said the line. You said the line. I'm like the line is getting there or not getting there.
What's the minimum?
And
yeah.
So, but getting hey, what are your reasons we think we get there? Is it because we've had changed players and staffs and just totally changed everything, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean that's mine, and I haven't heard a lot of buzz about the ACC this year. I mean, you got Carolina, Miami should be pretty good, but other than that, I think Notre Dame will be pretty good. But
Virginia Tech.
I mean,
I don't think Virginia is going to be as good as they have been. I mean, Duke will be good again just because they have all the
they didn't
5
make the
stars.
tournament last year, did
Virginia
they?
Tech.
Virginia
Tech.
Yeah,
Tech will be up
Virginia
there.
Tech's will be good. Wake Forest will be better. I mean, obviously
had a
Wake
great
Forest was
year.
right there last year.
Mhm.
I mean,
They're not a great year. Not a great year. They didn't make the
Florida
tournament. so
State's
I can't really say it
always
was a
got
great
some
year.
really good players and good teams lately.
Yeah.
yeah, but
Syracuse.
I
I don't know, guys.
But remember, if you remember last year, everyone was saying it was a very down year for the ACC,
And we were
Right.
still bad.
And granted, Carolina made the run. I know we still finished
Yeah.
13th, right? We finished so bad we didn't even
We
get
didn't
invited
have
to the
Manny
ACC
Bates.
Big
We didn't
Ten
have a point
Challenge.
guard that was effective, and that's a whole host of reasons.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm picking.
But yeah,
Which it is kind of funny though too how Cam Hayes and Mr. Number 47 are bonding right now at LSU together. So interesting
Yeah.
little thought, to kind of run with. Which, by the way, too, it is kind of funny how I think it honestly is a trend now that everybody calls him Number 47 now. I think it's almost like a unison
We started
thing.
that.
Everybody knows that he's not his name. He's Number 47. So, but anyway, yeah. I mean, I think for me, because again, just to me, I have much bigger goals than just getting to the NCAA tournament. Again, to me, honestly, again, I look at the NCAA
all
tournament.
right, Mackenzie.
Well, no. Well, and again, I'm not necessarily
I think
saying
we
like
win it
we're
all,
going
personally.
to get there. Well, and again, I mean, because again, I'm not necessarily saying like we're going to win it all here. I'm just saying that that for a team that has as much tradition as we do, for a team who has the resources that it does, the competition as due, being in the ACC, we need to have much bigger goals than just making it to the tournament. We need to be competing for ACC championship. Like, that, not saying that's where we are, but I'm saying that's what we need to eventually be doing. That should be what we are competing for. So to me, honestly, I think for Keats, that especially with this group that you have, to me, the bar is making this a NCAA tournament. It really is to me. I think that you need to get to the tournament at least, but also just like Greg said, you need to be competitive in the ACC. You can't get blown out by UNC. You got to be competitive with UNC. I'm not saying that you have to beat them, because obviously they're really good this year, but that pays to be seen as well. Can they duplicate? Can they handle all the preseason hype? We'll see about that. But either way, you just can't get blown out. You got to be competitive.
Think about it this way, though. We haven't been to the Sweet 16 in like 7 years.
That's
Right.
crazy. It was that long ago.
And I also would say too
Don't
that
say that. That sounds so bad.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, but
Yeah.
we're
No, I
talking
know, but just
expectations
don't
here.
say
No, I
it
agree.
out loud.
just hand sign
hurts
it.
so bad. It hurts so bad.
yeah.
Yeah.
Makes me want to cry.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
so I mean, again, I agree with you, Leighton. We have a very rich tradition, but we have to learn how to walk before we can run. And so, we've only made it to the tournament 1 year, and we lost to Seton Hall in Keats' first year.
First
Yeah,
year.
I think it was first year. Yeah. And we haven't been there since. And this is what, year
This will be year
5, 6?
Six.
I feel like State's
Six.
been wandering
Six,
in
right?
the desert for like a long time. It's
Well-
like, just give me some water.
Let my people go.
Yes.
Let my
It's
people
like, just
go.
help me out
Well,
here.
Well, again, I mean, because I remember seeing a list last year of like the worst college basketball programs, and you see like all these nobodies, and then you see NC State, and it's like this is a team that
It's
is universally known. I mean, just because of the fact of our '83 title run and the Survive in Advance documentary. So to think about that we have that reputation, and then to see us on a list of the worst college basketball programs in the country, it's like, that's unacceptable. That is 100,000% unacceptable.
I mean,
100,000.
I mean, we invented cutting down the nets for
Yeah.
college basketball.
Yeah.
we invented
that's-
ACC
that's-
basketball.
Yeah.
I mean,
So yeah, I get it, and it hurts.
We
to not be
invented calling
relevant
timeouts,
in
right? At the end of the game. I thought that was Jimmy V's thing, right?
Yeah.
So
the
fouling
fouling,
at
the
end,
fouling at the end of the
So,
game. But yeah,
here's
yeah.
I think ultimately to your original question, Leighton, when you said It's basically what is the bar? Make it, or what's a good season? What's a bad season?
Yeah.
I still I agree. I think we're all consensus here. It is the NCAA tournament or bust. And, I got a odd feeling this could be the last year we have to see Keats, even though there's a big buyout relatively on his contract. If he can't make that tournament, if you're Boo Corrigan, do you just continue to say, yeah, we're good with an 8th year or whatever it is, or what? I mean, not 8th year. I was thinking of the Sweet 16 number, but like if it's
7th year,
it's been, we haven't made it unless we made it that first year. We made it that first year with Keats.
Made the first year.
Yeah, and that was it.
Yeah, and we got blown out.
Yeah, it wasn't even close.
And this is year 5, year 6.
6.
Yeah. I don't know if Boo Corrigan's not the guy I hired. And
right.
You're not winning. I mean, I get it's not football, and I think Boo's more of a football-minded guy. Football is where the money's going to be at moving forward, but this is a bread and butter tradition, rich history you're talking about late. I got a feeling that if he does not get the tournament this year, I don't know it's going to go. Now, he's going out and recruiting really well, really hard, and getting the guys in to say, I think, hey, I got a future here, but I think it's just a tournament bust. And if we can make, let me say this, I will predict this, sort of. If State makes the NCAA tournament this year, is Keats in the conversation for Coach of the Year? In the ACC,
oh, that's sad.
In the ACC, of course, not the nation, no. But
no,
Mike Elko could be Coach of the Year for Duke and be 500. You get what I'm saying? Or
Steve Forbes,
make a bowl game, be Coach of the Year. I'm talking about for Keats.
Steve Forbes,
right. Exactly.
They didn't even make it.
Right. Exactly. That's an even better point than what I was trying to make. He was Coach of the Year, didn't even make the tournament. Yeah. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Here's the thing to keep in mind too. The NCAA tournament's pretty easy to make nowadays, right? With 68 teams and the play-in. That you can make the argument that college
that
basketball
hurts you more. Right? Don't say that like that.
Okay.
You had an ACC down year, and the tournament's so easy to make, and you were last in the ACC.
Yeah, I know. All
right, I'm done.
Well, this is going to hurt even more when I make this point. No, I get it, but this point's going to hurt even more. God. You only need 3 studs to really make the tournament. Like basketball. I mean,
2 last year.
I mean, you can turn it quickly. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well,
like look at Auburn, look at Tennessee, look at Miami.
I didn't think Carolina was star-studded last year. I mean, you had Baycott, you had the white guy who could really shoot. I can't remember the guy's name.
Brady Manick.
It looked like homeless.
Brady Manick, and the guy who's still there, Caleb Love. Yeah, I don't.
Lucky.
I mean, beyond that, I don't really think they were like stars on that team. You get what I'm saying?
No,
like, they're really good players. Yeah. I don't even throw up saying that about Carolina, but still, like that was. I mean, they didn't have the studs. You get what I'm saying? Right. So,
right.
Yeah,
I agree with you. You need just a couple of studs to get there, and you've got one in Terquavian.
Sure.
The question is, do you have one in other places? And I would say you kind of need studs who can do a little bit of everything. So that's why I'm a little bit nervous with, Burns being an offensive guy, not really defensive. Can he improve defensively, which I think was where the weight loss stuff will help the first step there. Yeah. Dusan Mahorchik, he's a defensive guy. Can he be an offensive guy? Can Greg Gant and those guys, can Casey become that?
Can people stay healthy?
Yeah,
that's the other thing, right?
So
that too.
But yeah, you're right. Yep. 2-3 players, it's all you really need.
It can be done.
Yep. Well, and I mean, definitely looking too, like at the schedule. So our first 5 games in the ACC. Because again, obviously we could talk about the bad boy mowers battle for Atlantis, which is definitely going to be
bad boy mowers
crazy with the Kansas. But even looking at the ACC, so I mean, you start off with Pitt at home, at Miami, which will be tough. Louisville at home, at Clemson, then Duke at home. So I mean, obviously, it's
look, Pitt.
Go ahead.
Pitt's a bottom dweller. That's winnable. Miami's tough. Duke's going to be tough, but I mean,
Clemson's beatable.
I mean, you come out of there 2-1. You come out of there 2-1 because you got home games there, so that helps.
Right, exactly. And that's exactly my point. Is it's kind of the same thing where if it was at Louisville, then maybe we'd be having a different conversation. If it was at Duke, we'd be having a different conversation. So that's kind of
Right. New coach.
Right. Which, yeah. But it's still crazy to me with Louisville. And again, this is the expectations that Louisville has for itself. But I mean, this guy had Louisville like top 10 in the country, even top 5, even flirted with it at one point. Like maybe a season or two ago during the regular season, they were top 10, even top 5, even. So it's just that just kind of shows you that unfortunately for Louisville, as much as as amazing as Lamar Jackson is, just the money goes to basketball. That's just really where it is.
Yeah.
Which obviously a lot of that has to come down with Kentucky.
Yeah. Hey, I'm looking here.
Right.
Just had an article for bustingbrackets.com and just preseason power rankings for the ACC this year. And I think this particular site has State right at the 9 spot, which is middle of the road ACC. That's a whole lot better than you were last year. That's ahead of teams like Boston College, Pittsburgh, Georgia Tech, Syracuse. I'm trying to remember the other ones I saw there, but you're definitely behind Wake Forest, Duke, Carolina. You're behind Virginia Tech. You're behind Miami, and I think Florida State and Virginia. I think were the other schools that I've listed more than 8 there, but you're in the middle of the ACC, ballpark. I think the schedule at times, I think there's not like a stretch of games where I'm looking at the schedule and I'm like, that's like,
Whoa.
4 loss, brutal games, like on the road to Carolina, on the road to Virginia, you come home to Duke, and then you're on the road to, Miami or
Virginia or
whatever.
something.
That would be like, I don't see that in the schedule. So I feel like it kind of has this, ebb and flow to the schedule. Yeah. Ebb and flow. There you go.
Yeah.
But I thought the schedule was fair to State this year. A little bit. So
I agree.
Me too.
Yeah. Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flatlands Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need, offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flatlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out. But I mean, obviously, I mentioned earlier we got to talk about it a little bit here. But the Battle for Atlantis tournament hosted in Paradise Island, Bahamas, obviously starting off with the defending national champions, Kansas. It's like, good Lord! All right, buckle your seatbelts, y'all. Here we go.
Thank you.
So.
Think you might have another.
No kidding. But the interesting thing too is that so Butler is going to be there, which for those who don't know, a certain Manny Bates is currently a part of that team as well. So there is definitely the possibility that we could face Butler, as crazy as that would seem. And I'm telling you, I'm rooting for it so we can shove it down Manny's throat. That DJ Burns could go 25 and 15 that game. And but yeah, that definitely makes me nervous. But again, I mean, it's kind of one of those things. It's like, hey, you know what? Let's take off the training wheels. Let's see what happens, folks.
Here's what I think about with Manny though. That situation is, I kind of don't blame him, to be honest with you, for leaving.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think the team would be like, I'm so ticked at Manny for leaving. I'm gonna kick his butt. I don't think it's gonna be like that. But I mean, we're not even scheduled to play them just yet, but it would be a great game. It would make all the TV game callers, they would be like, oh, and didn't you know Manny Bates played at NC State? They'd say it like 500 times. Yes.
How many times would you hear that?
1 bajillion times.
Over under.
Yeah. It's
but explain that, Macon, because a lot of State fans might be like, what do you mean, don't blame Manny Bates? So kind of explain your reason.
Well, he got injured and he was there, you had the other guys leaving. The guys that came in with Jericho Helms left, Cam Hayes transferred out. I honestly can't remember who left the team last year. Sebron, he's gone. Your weapons, so to speak. Your 2 of your leaders
fired.
Yeah, I don't really. I just don't blame him for leaving. From a personal perspective of, I want to have a future in basketball. I mean, do you really want to be on a team the following year? In his mind, he doesn't know what the roster is going to look like.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's exactly.
gonna look-
And that's exactly
And
it.
you know, granted, you could make the argument. Well, he could be the leader and the guy, and you got to take ownership, and it's your team. You commit. I mean, yes, I hear all those points, and they're fair to make, but it's just
Maybe
you know,
different
put
age,
yourself
too.
in that position a little bit too, and it's like, okay, if I'm looking at making millions versus not. Wouldn't you put yourself in a situation that might be a little bit better for 1 year?
Yeah.
1 year. I mean, maybe he was there for State. He could have left the year before. People don't remember that either. He could have left the year before. So,
Mhm.
Yeah. What to me, it's not so much that he left; it's where he went. I think that's more of the. You know, if you had to,
you could have gone to.
Yeah.
You could have gone to.
I mean,
anywhere.
especially
You could have gone to.
well, Georgetown was on the list, you know, so that would have to me that made more sense with Patrick Ewing being there. I mean, granted, it's not a great school, but you know, you can get developed, right? It's
I
not
could see
necessarily
people
about
being
the
like,
winning,
okay, he
it's
goes to
about the
Oklahoma State.
development.
That makes sense. He goes to a Wisconsin. That makes sense.
Yeah.
If he goes to heck, he goes to Pittsburgh.
A Power
that makes
Five.
sense. Maybe not Pittsburgh, but
maybe not Pittsburgh.
That's a bad example.
No.
Sorry about that,
Bad
guys.
example.
I will say
No, but a Power Five
the
school.
only thing with Butler is they did hire Thad Matta, who's made a couple Final Fours with Ohio State. So I think that really
True.
is something that's kind of being overlooked. He's their new coach. And
Yeah.
he's-
But
and
I-
he's a
good
coach.
coach.
I do agree with you, and
He's
I
a
do
good
kind of want to summarize that point. That basically, that at the time, Manny Bates did not know if Terquavian Smith or Sebron was
Yeah,
coming back,
right.
and so if he decided that he
Cam,
wanted to stay, and then all of a sudden Big T's not coming back, Sebron's not coming back, and Keats doesn't really have any horses, then
Who's
yeah, the Manny
dishing
Bates
him
is
the
kinda
ball?
screwed.
Who's dishing the ball?
Then, yeah, Manny Bates is kind of screwed.
He can't really
And
make
then
those
all-
blocks.
Or if he decides to leave last minute, well, you're kind of putting yourself in a tough situation because a lot of teams might have already filled spots, but if you leave earlier, it gives you an opportunity to kind of fill one of those spots a
But
little sooner.
let me make
So,
a point
I get
here,
it.
though. I
Go for it.
think State shouldn't be like people hear us say like, "Oh, he's transferred to Wisconsin or he transferred to Oklahoma State." I think State fans should not settle either in that perspective. Like, "Oh yeah, they're the better program than us." I think maybe in this moment, some of these programs are like Alabama basketball might be a better program than NC State basketball right now, and that's really tough to
Right
kind of
now,
have to
yes.
swallow. But it's
true.
like,
Right.
Mhm.
hey,
true.
man, like State fans though should not tolerate anything less. Like and this is where I'm gonna get a little bit of soapbox, but like Jay Billis saying a few years ago that like State should never think they're going to be any better than what they are right now because they live in the back corner or the in the same sidewalk or the same side of the street as or the other side of the street as Carolina and Duke, and
Carolina
they're
and
just the
Duke, yeah.
redhead. Like he didn't say redhead stepchild, but he basically said State shouldn't expect to be like that. And I'm like,
You might as well.
like, who was Butler before Brad Stevens? Who was Duke before Mike
was Duke?
Krzyzewski?
Yeah.
It takes
Mhm.
one coach, and who was, I mean, Texas Tech before Chris Beard, who was, I mean, you could go in a whole host of range. Right.
Mhm.
So that whole argument that one really does take me off a little bit.
It'd be
No,
one
it's-
thing if we hadn't won anything ever, but we've got those two banners right behind Greg. So
Yeah.
I know they're a
Mhm.
long time ago, but it's still tradition and it's there. The
Who was,
history's there.
I just think State can be anything that they want to be. It's just a matter of getting the right guy
Yeah.
and being competent and coaching. And I think Keats has an opportunity to prove this year that he's got the guys he needs. He's built the depth. He's built up you've earned some of the trust back in the offseason from the fans. I'm trying to get back on track here. But I think he's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the fan
Right,
base is
that
there.
too,
Like the
yeah.
fan base is yearning, right? To like, I mean, you see what we do in bad years in football. Like we still pack out Carter Finley, pun intended, right? Now we could get on a whole nother soapbox
Tirade.
tirade
Tirade?
about tirade. Thank you. It's getting late, but about PNC, not being the greatest,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it can be.
I don't know.
But if you get a full
loud.
PNC arena,
I think that whole argument is
place
kind
gets
of
loud.
silly. I
I
mean,
mean,
to me,
it
the
is.
idea of playing, this is a hot
I
take.
agree.
Sometimes this is a hot take. People may think this what I'm about to say is blasphemous. The idea of playing in Reynolds sometime for men's basketball games, it would be fun, but I mean, I'm not saying playing better in
not big
PNC.
enough.
Maybe playing in old Reynolds would have been better, but it's just a different environment now. And now would it be great to consider building a arena on site? Sure, but I think PNC is a fine place to play. I think it's really great place to play. I think a lot of schools would love to have a venue like PNC Arena. It's just state fans can pack out that place. They just need something to cheer for, and they've had 30 years.
They need a reason.
Well, and again, so let's put it as kind of like a this side or that side.
40.
So let's imagine that basically like the one side is like Duke and Cameron Indoor, where like Cameron Indoor is it is Duke basketball through and through. And I'm not necessarily saying, I'm just saying that basically from the standpoint of that it is Duke and there's nothing else. It is Duke. And then the other side, you have like University of Pitt for football at Heinz Field, where it's like, okay, that is always going to be Pittsburgh Steelers Stadium.
I get it.
Pittsburgh Panthers are playing in it. So the beautiful thing is what I'm saying is that PNC Arena is kind of the in-between perspective, where it's not really just Carolina Hurricanes and State is there.
Technically, we own it, don't we? Don't we own it?
It's a 50 share, right? 50. But I'm just saying from a identity standpoint, it's not just the Carolina Hurricane Stadium and we're playing in it. It's both.
But here's the thing.
I mean,
if State could build a Coliseum similar to what Reynolds was, that would be 10
to 12,000.
Awesome. It'd be great. I just think people bashing PNC would be money. It's just like a little. PNC's I mean, I want to say dumb, team. But it's like, come on, like it's a pretty sweet venue.
It's
low hanging fruit, right?
Like at this point, you're just looking at something
to complain about.
Yeah, it's an easy take. Well, we played a hockey arena. Like, shut up. Like, either go or don't go.
For anybody who doubts, all right, I was there in person, but the one moment which I'll forever remember is 2013 UNC when Rodney Purvis put that dunk and Roy Williams called a timeout. Oh my gosh, I've never been in a stadium louder. It was insanity.
Now here's the thing, though. I don't think people are complaining about PNC Arena is always going to be packed for Duke Carolina games. It's the games like you're playing Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
You're playing Miami. That game, that same season, that game against Miami was rocking because that was a really big matchup. It's just you give State fans something to cheer for and play like what they have always historically, not always, they've historically experienced. They're rich. They're proud of their history. You got to give them that, and if they'll be there.
Absolutely.
Honestly, I think the biggest complaint from the fans is like why am I going in the middle of December to go see Bryant? Right. Does anyone know where Bryant is? Like, and so I think so.
Come on, Michael.
But my point is taken. You're not making my argument. No, but no, when you're playing Upper South Carolina State, but
every other school's playing teams like that too. So
true.
Yeah, but we haven't brought in a good name like Power 5 team in many years, other than the Big Ten ACC Challenge.
But the point which I will make while Macon looks that up is I think that the biggest key, and I'd mentioned this when we were kind of wrapping up men's basketball from last season, which is it is vital that Keats quote unquote wins the offseason, where he gives fans something to be excited about. And I think obviously the assistant coaches that he brought in, I love. I think it's a home run assistant coach hire. Bringing Big T back. Step 2, that is a huge get.
Step 2.
And then I think you bring in a true point guard in Jarkel Joyner. I think you bring in a guy that can rebound on the guard side, but also shoot a 3-pointer like Jack Clark. You bring in a big man that is proven in college basketball, and DJ Burns. So, and also too, I think that also another thing which I'll say is that I think that state fans have to keep in mind that he's literally changing his philosophy. It's kind of like when Dave Doran, the biggest moment for him is when he fired Coach Huxtable. That was a huge turning point for him because that was his identity. He did not want to get rid of Huxtable, but in order for him to be successful, he did it. And I think for this point, maybe with him changing his philosophy to what more kind of matches with, the ACC, that maybe this is maybe a turning point. Who knows? We'll find out here in a little bit. So, Macon, what do you?
I'm gonna need you to keep. No, I'm gonna need you to keep making your point because he ain't finding nothing over there.
Louisiana Tech, Nebraska. that was part of the Big Ten talent. That doesn't really count.
That was part of
They, I will
Yeah.
say they were. That was
Yeah.
actually that. You're right. I've only gone through 2 years, man. Give me a break. But through 2 years,
No, but
you got a point though. Louisiana Tech's probably the name William and Mary.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Let's get excited
Yeah.
about that
Remember when
tribe.
William and
But I
Mary
do-
showed up.
but I'm still trying to figure out too if it's a good thing or a bad thing that we're not in the ACC Big Ten Challenge this year.
Well, I'll make the argument for you. You want a Power 5 game
I know. It's just
where
like,
it's going to help your
that's bad.
resume,
yeah.
because I mean, now playing Kansas is going to help, right? Or it's going to really hurt
You know
depending
what?
on how
I'm
we
gonna
do on that game.
go to Greg. Also,
But
I got a point to add to you.
go ahead.
I got a
No.
point to add to
I
you
was
then.
just filling up.
Wake Forest won games last year, right? Won games, didn't make the tournament, and the reason why is they played nobody.
That's true.
And
Cupcake City, right? As Dick Vitale,
yeah,
Cupcake
diaper
City, baby.
dandies.
So,
But no,
Yeah.
yeah. By the way, really great that he's cured from cancer, though. That's awesome. But anyways, yeah, I think you got to
absolutely.
play talent. But I don't even know who's on the schedule this year. I know we played that tournament, but I don't know who's coming to the home games.
actually, it's interesting too. And I'm looking at actually going to this game. We actually
Yeah.
play a game in Chicago
Vanderbilt.
against
Yeah.
Vanderbilt.
Interesting.
So we play
I'm thinking about
Mount
making the trip
Olive
up there for
from
that.
right down the road. Detroit Mercy, FIU, Alcorn State.
Alcorn State, the fighting.
Well, and if I
Vince
know one
Youngs.
thing
Oh,
about
wait.
them is that
I mean, no, that was sorry. No, we don't. That was an old schedule I'm looking at. I'm telling you guys wrong.
I was gonna say
Hold on one second.
it's like Alcorn State. We play Copen State.
I'm
At
totally
home?
guys. It's guys.
What-
Yeah,
it's
another historically black.
It's
Which-
bad.
I think it's Coppin State, by
Coppin
the
To
way.
sum it all up,
Okay.
the out of conference is bad outside of the tournament.
Also-
also
There's
also
no
ma-
tournament.
also Macon is
Yeah.
dumb.
but
No.
But there's a
Yeah,
reason, right? Because you
exactly.
don't know what kind of talent you have, so you don't want to schedule the big boys
Yeah.
and just
I got no
Yeah.
problem with
Destroy.
it because
So-
you have your guaranteed 3 games in the Bahamas. One of them is now against
Yep.
the defending national champs, and then you've got 2 other
Yeah.
like top
Good luck
50
with that.
teams.
Well, yeah, then you're going to face either
Wisconsin,
Dayton or
USC,
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
You're going
So
to face either Dayton or Wisconsin.
I will say I'd rather play Kansas in the Bahamas than at
Yeah, for
Well, no
Lawrence
kidding.
Fieldhouse.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
At Lawrence
See, okay,
Fieldhouse.
here we're
Sounds right.
playing the
That's
schedule.
what it is.
Austin Peay University. Couldn't tell you where the heck that is.
Austin, PA.
Okay, Campbell.
That's
Never
Texas,
heard
I
of them.
believe.
The no, I'm kidding.
FIU.
FIU, Elon,
The fighting Campbells.
and then that tournament, Kansas, Dayton, or Wisconsin, and then somebody else. We do play William and Mary. We play Copen State, State,
Coppin State.
and
Coppin.
Furman. Those are all the
Furman.
home games.
Furman will be a good.
Conference.
Furman will
Then
be
we
a
have
good
Vanderbilt,
team.
and then we have Vanderbilt in Chicago.
Yeah, and it's an odd
Furman
note.
will be a good
One
team.
that's interesting here that I kind of forgot about. We play a couple early ACC games this year. I didn't even look at that. Did you guys notice that?
Yeah, playing Pitt at home.
Yeah, they've started sprinkling in the ACC a little earlier than they have in the last
Yeah.
couple of years. I think they
Yeah,
started
that'd be
game
nice.
3 years
It's
ago.
first opening game is Pittsburgh on a Friday night. That should be. I say it should be a win. It should be a win. December
What-
2nd.
when
It's on a
is-
Friday.
When is that game?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
Okay.
And
then
then
that
December 10th.
Game.
Go ahead.
The game against Vanderbilt. When is that one?
That one is December 17th. December 17th.
Do you know who the
November.
coach of Vanderbilt
Okay.
is?
It is it.
Uh-oh. Are you coming in with something hot?
Anybody? No.
Is it?
Jerry
Is it?
Stackhouse.
No, I
is
don't
it-
know.
Is it who?
Steve
Oh,
Nash.
that's right.
Jerry Stackhouse.
It is Stackhouse.
Oh, nice. Okay.
That's right. I do. Now you said
Good
that,
to
I
know.
definitely remember.
All right.
I think this is his
Second
first year,
I
right?
think he was coach last
Second.
year. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, second.
Yeah, the school where the basketball court is on a stage. So
Yeah.
interesting.
It's
All right, y'all. Well, again, hopefully this kind of gives you a little bit of insight here, and I think we've definitely have exhausted it for sure. We'll talk a little bit
Yeah.
more as we get a little bit closer here, but since we got UConn coming up here, just want to take an opportunity here to
Speaking of
Yeah,
basketball
hey,
schools.
speaking of basketball schools, talk a little bit about basketball here, but we'll definitely be doing a women's basketball one here soon. But again, if you haven't already, make sure again, October 13th, I think it is prime time with the Pack. So make sure to check them out. Make sure to
Sounds
check
right.
it out, not them. Check it out. And then also to make sure again, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new episodes, any live streams. Also to give this video a like if you're an NC State fan, and also to give us a follow at Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter or Instagram. But thank you all so much for joining us. And as always, go Pack, baby.